All right, this is lesson 10 on rules, player group rules for defense. And this is specifically a nuance to the Bink Machine, but I want to call it out because last year I was looking through all my rosters and be like, I don't want that. And there isn't a rule in the Bink Machine you can set to do this. And so I realized I had to start making groups myself for this. And before I get into that, the Bink Machine is $150 this year for the entire season. Most other optimizers, if you look out there on their websites, it's between $100 and $200 a month. So you're getting a significant discount using the Bink Machine. But there are a couple of nuances, little wonky things, and no problem. We need to find a way to work around these wonky things. One of those wonky things I'm hearing team stacks is these two buttons say, do I want a defense in the same lineup as my quarterback against a quarterback? So the Bills are playing the Cardinals this week. What I want, do I want to allow the Cardinals defense in my Josh Allen roster? The answer is probably not. Again, in small slates, you check this because you don't want to limit. There are situations where it plays out just few and far between. You don't want to do that in a large slate. And the same thing applies here, allow defense versus flex. So if I have the Cardinals defense, do I want Khalil Shakir in that lineup? Is that okay? And typically the answer there is no, especially in large slates. That typically has not that much of a negative correlation, but it's somewhat of a negative correlation. So these are really good to not have for main slates. The problem though is these only have to do with the defense versus the opposing players, but it doesn't account for the defense on the same team. And so I was seeing lineups, like in this case, it would be, we talk about the Bills a lot. I would see a lot of lineups where I had a Josh Allen stack and the Bills defense because I don't have a rule in here to tell me don't play Josh Allen with the defense. And this applies for all players. So I would have lineups with Khalil Shakir and the Bills defense. And I kind of don't want that. If I'm going to play the Bills defense, I want to play it on a lineup that's not involving the Bills. That's typically, I use that as a leverage play. The defense did really well, which is why the stack didn't do well. So I don't typically want a defense on the same roster as any players on that team. And there's no way to do this that I can find in the Bink Machine. No problem. Let's build a defense group. So here are my stacking groups from before. I actually will do all the defenses either first or last. And so what I'll do is I'll actually go say which defense. Oops, this is the trainer. These are all the defenses I'm playing this week, and I am going to build a rule for every defense to ensure that I have no players from that team in the same lineup as the defense. Let me show you that sense. For the Cowboys, let's just take the Cowboys as a great example. I'm going to build a group called Cowboys D, and I'm going to put the Cowboys, Dallas. I'll filter DST here just to get there. Just Dallas Cowboys. And then I'm going to put every single Dallas player in there. So Dak. Oops. Dak. And I might put in, by the way, if you want to have the potential correlation with like Ezekiel Elliott and the defense, then just don't put Ezekiel Elliott in this group. So you can actually leave. If you want to do a running back DST correlation, just leave your running back out of this group because this is going to be a limiting group. CD Lamb. Oops, got to spell CD right. And I'll do this. I'll do Cooks. I'll do Ferguson for tight end. And I'll leave the running backs. And then here's what you do is what you say is I anchor at Dallas Cowboys and I do this rule. This says if the Dallas Cowboys are in play, I can only have one of this group. Since the Dallas Cowboys have to be in, this is a rule that only applies if the Dallas Cowboys are on a roster. It excludes all these players from being on that lineup. This ensures that all my Dallas Cowboys rosters don't have any quarterback pass catchers from the Cowboys in that same roster. If I wanted to include running backs, sure. I just go in there, I put like Zeke, no problem. Either way, however you want to do this. It's a little bit of a nuance, a simple nuance, but I really subscribe to the notion that JM said, which is after you build all your rosters, go check and make sure they're what you want. Like if I were to build this, would I actually enter this into a real tournament? And I saw lots of rosters when I first started doing this that had the quarterback and the defense of the same team on the roster together. I'm like, I don't ever want that, not for a main slate. And so I had to build these rules, real simple rules, but important that you get that so that you can avoid that what I would consider pretty much negative correlation. That's all for this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.